Hi everybody, I'm Jack the Rambling Raconteur. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a safe week. Particularly if you're in a part of North America affected by the severe winter storm that has crashed through. My youngest brother and sister are both, experiencing power outages. So I really do hope you're having a safe week, and I'll have some hot takes on this book tag. This is going to be the A to J book tag, which is great because those are two of my initials. It was originally created by Jim at Jim's Books and Stuff. He's got a great sense of humor, and a lot of people have been doing this tag. And I was kindly tagged by Jordan Parsons, who continues to just run this streak of mentioning books I really love in his responses to book tags. So prompt 1, A is for author. Which author have you read the most books by? Well, if we include plays, it's probably Shakespeare. I've read at least 22 of Shakespeare's plays, 23 if you want to make the Sonnets a separate book. Untitled Chapter would do that. I'm a fan of the Sonnets. I'll do that as well. If we're not going to include plays, I've read at least 15 novels by Michael Moorcock, the great British science fiction, fantasy, steampunk, new wave science fiction author, and big fan of his. If we include children's books, though, I read more than the first 19, but the first 19 books in the Boxcar children's series were written by Gertrude Chandler Warner. I read at least like 30 of those. My cousin had like all of the ones that had been published at the time I was reading them in grade school. I also read an enormous quantity of books by Dr. Seuss, and if we include the Theo Lessig books, which are the ones he didn't illustrate, that number expands. And then the Goosebumps series by RL Stine, probably at least 30 books from that series as well. Loved reading those as a kid. Prompt 2, B is for Black History Month. What are you reading for Black History Month? Well, Janae at Coffee and Copyrights made the great point of, why don't you start your Black History Month reading on January 29th to get a full 31 days, and also, be reading throughout the year. And I try to do that. I ironically started Of Mules and Men by Zora Neale Hurston on January 29th. But I am in the final sections of Reporting Civil Rights Part 1, the final 40 pages. That's going to be, I'm going to finish this week, and I'll put up a video about it. And I cannot recommend this book highly enough. It would be on, when I revise my top 10 nonfiction books tag, this will be on it. It's a marvelous anthology that really examines so many aspects of what was happening between 1940 and 1963. Just a marvelous book. I'm also in the final couple of essays of Shadow and Act by Ralph Ellison. I finished his section on jazz and sort of music as a whole. Really enjoyed that. And I'm fine in his final section where he's a little bit more introspective on his own personal life and personal writing, rather than sort of viewing humanity, the United States, culture, writing, literature, jazz, all sorts of things, as a critic and a little bit more introspective. And this has been great. Highly recommended as well. I just started reading Tar Baby by Toni Morrison. I'm only about 40 pages in, so I can't tell a whole lot about it, but it's Toni Morrison, so it's wonderful. I've really enjoyed the first section. And if I have time, if I can get to it, I'm going to reread Walter Mosley's Devil in a Blue Dress, because this is the Easy Rollins mystery series is really, really great. And this could be a March Mystery Madness book if you're interested. So, prompt C, what are you currently reading? Well, see above. But two other works I'm currently reading from would be some of the short stories and novellas in Dangerous Visions, edited by Harlan Ellison. Wonderful. Amazing. And then some of the poems from the American Religious Poems anthology that Library of America published, I believe, last year. They have these on a bizarre discount for $10, so I ordered a copy. Prompt 4, D, what is your drink of choice while reading? Water. I actually don't drink coffee or tea, and I don't drink alcohol at all, so it's generally water. Water, milk, like orange and apple juice sometimes. But water. Prompt 5, ebook or physical, that should be self-evident. Prompt 6, favorite fictional characters. Well, you can't go wrong with Lysistrata. However, when I read Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, I discovered that Elinor Dashwood is in some sense a very good fictional representation of aspects of my wife's personality. And I love my wife very, very much. So there's a sense of Elinor Dashwood is now one of my favorite fictional characters. Two others, I'm a sucker for mysteries. One of my favorite detectives would be Lou Archer. as much as I love Philip Marlowe and Sam Spade, even though he's only in, one book by Hammett, Lou Archer's, he's a great one. And Conan. This one has Red Nails, which is and Beyond the Black River, but Red Nails is probably my favorite Conan story. Here we go. Prompt 7, Georgia. Do you know any famous Georgians? That is Georgia, the country, not the U.S. state. I am with the supermajority of people who have done this tag. It will be Joseph Stalin. If you want a great book on Russian history, one that I found and just incredibly insightful was The People's Tragedy by Orlando Figes. However, Stalin does pop up as a character in The Steel Tsar by Michael Moorcock, a steampunk Oswald Bastable novel. Here we go. Prompt 8, horror. Is there a book that really scared you? I don't know that there's a single full book or novel, because I think it's very hard to sustain horror across, more than any work longer than a short story or maybe a novella. And I couldn't really think of any novellas that even really do that for me in terms of a fictional work. So some of the short stories that I think are quite frightening would include Horla by Guy de Maupassant, In the Penal Colony by Franz Kafka, and the great W.W. Jacobs' The Monkey's Paw. However, I mentioned that was fiction. Those are all short stories that I think really sustain, from the first paragraph through to the end of the story, truly the end of the story. They manage to sustain real dread, deep, fear. Okay. That said, in real life, nonfiction, I think there's much more horror in there in terms of the horror of what human beings do to each other. Reporting Civil Rights has, just so many examples of that. And I'm not just talking about, death. I'm talking about, the horrifying, brutal beatings that were occurring. And not just, against men, but, against children, against women. That is so much more horrifying than anything, fictional. Real life horror is, the brutality of humans to other human beings is the most horrifying thing. Prompt 9. I don't know, neither do I. Is it imaginary? Italy, India, Ireland, intelligent, whatever you like. Well, I just so happen to be reading a really, really fun book by R.K. Narayan, which is Malgudi Days. It is a series of short stories. I believe there's 32 of them, so you almost can read one a day for a month and finish the book and just feel like you've spent a month in, Malgudi. And it's wonderful. There are different types of stories. We meet different characters within the city. We meet a doctor. We meet a fortune teller. We meet a child who's an older student. We meet a child who's a younger student. And it really is just a fascinating book. I'm loving this book. And prompt 10, what book have you just finished? That would be The Black God's Drums by Peter Shelley Clark. I loved this book. I thought this was mesmerizing as a work. What it accomplished in 110 pages. Highly recommend it. And I'll link the video where I discuss that. I will tag, I'm not sure if either of these two people have been tagged, so if they have, I apologize. But I will tag Alan Braswell over at The Lonely Bookshelf, and I hope he's safe in Dallas. And I will tag Carrie at Very Literary Carrie. So thank you for joining, and again, have a great week. Thanks.